What would you say if I told you about a small river town on the banks of Florida's Withlacoochee River that had a rags to riches story about a high school football team that has never been seen before or since? This football program put the town of 1200 on the map, as well as bring a community together in more ways than one. During the 1970s, the Dunnellon Tigers were a laughingstock amongst football programs in Central Florida. They were not only getting beat, but the Tigers were being humiliated almost every Friday night in the fall. They seemed to be everyone's homecoming opponent, and rightfully so. There didn't seem to be much hope, as they were one of the smallest schools in their state classification. Dunnellon routinely faced teams twice their size and with much more talent. They were outscored by almost 1,200 points over a 5-year span that saw them barely win 6 games. The town was so hungry for a competitive team, but it just didn't seem possible. Then, in 1977, a man named Richard Kennedy took over the fledgling program. It was clear right from the start that he was going to do things his way, with instilling physical and mental toughness with discipline. As the days of practice continued, many of the boys felt like their flesh had been ripped off their bones. The exhausted, bruised, and battered players were forced to make a decision if playing football for Dunnellon High School was worth the price that had to be paid. Indeed, many players decided that they had better things to do than get beat on and yelled at, so one by one they quit. By the start of the fall season, the team had dwindled down to 16 players, but by putting them through the gauntlet, Coach Kennedy now had some players that he felt he could depend upon. After scoring only 26 points during the entire season before, the 1977 Tigers would score 54 points in their first game. They would go on to win 8 games in Kennedy's first season, including a Rainbow Bowl victory. The next 2 seasons would be nothing short of legendary and would involve a future Hall of Fame coach, a quarterback named Golden Boy, a running back that ran the ball like a Sherman tank, a record-setting defense, as well as teams that would set a state record 36-game winning streak. The seed for the team's ultimate rewards were planted in the warm days during the spring of 1977. Blood, sweat, and tears had been used to cultivate the seed in the fertile soil of Tiger Stadium and the practice fields. The seed germinated during the fall football season and began to grow in the spring and summer of 1978. The rains of September and the fall football season continued to enable the seedling to grow bigger and stronger until it developed into prominence during the state playoffs. The tree would end up rewarding the Dunnellon Tigers with the fruit of their first state championship on a cold night in Wakulla, Florida. During the midseason, Dunnellon won an epic battle against the number 1 ranked Williston Red Devils. The neighboring town boasted an explosive team with a running back that would become Herschel Walker's backup at Georgia. Over 7,000 spectators witnessed the overtime victory for the Tigers, which was in contrast to the 3 people that were in the stands for Dunnellon's last game of the winless 1976 season. The season would end with an undefeated 14-0 record, with half of the games ending with a shutout. Al Young ended his career with well over 4,000 yards rushing and 52 touchdowns in his junior and senior seasons. He broke his state record for his junior season with rushing attempts with 381 in 1978, which would stand for 22 years. The 1979 team lost key players from the state championship team and were not as big as the previous team, but they had a senior quarterback named Roger Sibold, who Kennedy would nickname Golden Boy. The defense was led by 2 future NFL players in quarterbacks Vito McKeever and Ricky Eastman. All 3 of these players would later start at the same time for the Florida Gators in the defensive backfield. The 1979 Dunnellon Tigers dominated their opponents like never before. The offense averaged 32 points per game and had 6,000 yards of total offense, while the defense shut out a state record 9 opponents during the regular season, and this record has never been broken. The hard-hitting defense had 18 recovered fumbles and 39 interceptions. The team once again went undefeated and beat Holmes County in front of 6,500 fans in Tiger Stadium for back-to-back state championships. Oh, by the way, the stadium's official seating capacity was only 2,500. The parking lots were a geography lesson with license plates on vehicles from all over the state of Florida. Dunnellon had a population of only about 1,200, so the program that Richard Kennedy built had statewide interest. Roger Sibold and Vito McKeever turned down several offers to sign scholarships to play for the University of Florida. During his career, Sibold led his team to an amazing 35-3 record while accounting for almost 5,000 yards of total offense and 420 points. Vito McKeever had an incredible 16 interceptions during his senior season, which ranked 4th in state history. His career total of 23 pickoffs was ranked 5th in the state. McKeever also held a state track record in the high jump. The 1980 season established a state record 36-game winning streak. How in the world did a team that was as bad as any football program in Florida rise to become one of the most dominant teams in the state within 2 years? Dunnellon was referred to as the Big D back in those days. As far as the football program, I think the D represented discipline, dedication, determination, and defense. Coach Kennedy's defenses shut out 50 opponents from 1977 to 1985, including the 1981 win against the number 1 ranked Wildwood Wildcats that ended 8-2. Kennedy coached 104 games at Dunnellon High School, and out of the remaining 54 games where the opponent's offense scored, the Tigers' defense only gave up 1 score in half of these games. An opposing coach once told newspaper reporters after his team was shut out by the Tigers, "Believe it or not, we played them as good as we could. I don't know what they are protecting in their end zone, but they act like a wounded animal protecting their young. They would rather die than let you cross those double stripes." This was all done for the most part with ordinary athletes that were overachievers. The game of high school football is played on the field with teenage boys and not with tape measures, weight scales, and stopwatches. Size, strength, and speed does make a difference, and pound for pound, the Dunnellon players were probably as strong as any team in the region because of their year-round weight training program. However, the heart of each player and their ability to fight no matter how much pain or exhaustion they endured had as much to do with the team's success as their athletic ability. This was one of Coach Kennedy's keys to success in bringing boys from various backgrounds together as a team that would fight for each other and come together as one heartbeat. Like Coach Paul Bear Bryant once said, "What matters is not the size of the dog in the fight, but of the fight in the dog." Richard Kennedy had adopted the same coaching philosophy as Bear Bryant, who once said, "I make my practices real hard because if a player is a quitter, I want him to quit in practice, not in a game." In 25 years as the coach of the University of Alabama, Coach Bryant never fielded a losing team. He once told a reporter the secret of his success: "If there's a word for it, it's work. A winning football effort demands sacrifice, discipline, oneness, and fight. That's stuff you can't learn in the classroom." He believed in the old adage, "A winner never quits and a quitter never wins." Bear Bryant once said, "The first time you quit, it's hard. The second time, it gets easier. The third time, you don't even have to think about it." If you believe in yourself and have dedication and pride and never quit, you'll be a winner. The price of victory is high, but so are the rewards.